Around 3 years ago, I made a couple of videos about Purpleheart wood and showed how you can deepen the color of the wood by baking it in the oven. And maybe a year or two before that, I did another video showing a whole bunch of different kinds of wood which I heated at increasing temperatures until they finally caught on fire. I think it was around 500 or 550 degrees Fahrenheit, if I remember correctly. So the one that I did 3 years ago, I was trying to find the right temperature range for getting that deep purple color to come out. And I think we settled on around 300 to 350 degrees for 60 minutes. Seemed to be just about right. Now, at the end of the video, I glued the scraps together into a cutting board and said that I would follow up in 2 years or so. I don't know why I made a promise on the internet, but people keep reminding me that I said that. So I've been meaning to do a really good detailed follow-up with a whole bunch of samples of Purpleheart with different finishes inside the house, outside. But that just didn't happen. Other things took over, and I could start it now, but it won't be ready for a couple years. So rather than procrastinating this video even longer, I'm just going to give the answer that a lot of people are looking for, and that is, what does that cutting board look like now? And then we'll probably run it through the planer and see what it looks like on the inside. So stay tuned. Before I whip out that board, here are a few other pieces of Purpleheart just for reference. This is one of the remaining pieces from that 4 or 5 year ago experiment. This one was cooked up to 500 or 550 degrees. And when I cut it open, I saw that it had a nice deep purple color, and that's what got me curious to try different temperatures. So this held up quite well. And this is another one that was baked. And none of these have any finish on them. This one's a bit younger, probably was sitting on that side, so this maybe got a little more air exposure, or vice versa. This is about a year old since I last planed this or cut it or sanded it. Not sure how long this one is. These have all been in the box for a while. And inside of here, I have some of the pieces left over from the 3 year ago video, including the 2 jars where I'm trying to remember exactly what I did. But I think I had some acetone and some lacquer thinner, and I soaked some pieces of Purpleheart in here and ended up with some liquid, which over time has pretty much evaporated. And even that is a little bit, it's a lot less purple than it was then. It's kind of a brownish red color now. I'm not sure which was which because I didn't label it for some reason. Remember this guy right here as well. This is one of the pieces that I think it was not baked. Put it in lacquer thinner, and it soaked out the oil and gave us that pink color. And let's introduce that one now. This was one of the pieces that was baked at 350 degrees, and that resulted in a deeper color in the solvent. I let both of these soak for about 12 hours, just overnight, and it kind of confirms my suspicion that the reason that the kitchen utensils and cutting boards were turning a little bit white and chalky on the surface was from the oil that provides the color to the wood being washed out with soap. And especially if you happen to put it in the dishwasher soap is a lot harsher, so that'll wash that oil right out of there. What I have inside of the box here are 3 of the scraps left over that were used to make the cutting board. And the only one of these that is labeled is this guy right here, and that says 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 60 minutes. So I think that was probably what I settled on as the best temperature. Now, when this is oiled, it will darken up a little bit, and I did some spoons later that I did at 350 for 60 minutes, and they got too dark. So thinner wood, something like that, I would go at a lower temperature or lower time, maybe 300 for 30 minutes or something like that. But you got to play around with it. There's no exact formula because every piece of wood is unique. And this should be interesting. I have not opened this thing since 3 years ago when I did that video. This is a control piece, and I can't remember if I wrapped it up in plastic inside of here, but I wrapped it up and then put foil on it because I wanted to shield this from light and air. I think this is one of the original pieces that I did not bake. For comparison, let's go back to our control piece here that was wrapped up and sealed to protect it from air and light. And you can tell what these looked like in the beginning. So that's a bit of a difference. That's more brown and that's more purple. Really a big difference next to the 350 degree piece. Like I said, I'm just kind of winging this right now because I wanted to get this done because I know people are wondering, and I don't have a lot of time for it. So let's take a look at that board. First, I will pull up an image of what it looked like when it was first made, and here's what it looks like now. Not very impressive, right? This is after 3 years of use and abuse. And I put one coat of finish on this. It was some old water locks that it was kind of gelled over, so it didn't really penetrate very well. So keep in mind that this has had very little protection in 3 years. It has been through the dishwasher several times, intentionally, because I wanted to see how it would hold up. It's been cut, it's been washed, it's been used quite a bit. It's still surprisingly flat. I mean, that is kind of impressive that it's still flat after all this time. It hasn't been sealed, it hasn't been waxed, it hasn't been touched up at all. After the dishwashing, it got some little cracks in the end, not surprising, but this was glued together with Tight Bond 3, this stuff right here, which, I mean, it holds up great. It'll get a little bit soft in the dishwasher from the heat and the steam, but the glue joints won't really fail unless there's enough movement to kind of shear, especially on the end grain. But several passes through the dishwasher, and that's quite a bit of abuse for wood. So this is what it looks like after, once again, remember with these jars, just soaking the wood in a solvent was enough to wash out some of the color. So this thing has been washed enough that some of that color got washed out. But check this out. I'm going to wipe it down with a little bit of alcohol real quick. And a little bit comes back. It's kind of brown, but there's still a little bit of color in there. So I am kind of curious to see, once I get off this, remove this white texture on there, the white surface, if there's going to be a better color underneath. But first, let's open up the control piece and see what that looks like. I'm kind of curious too, because it has been 3 years. I hope I put this in plastic. Definitely shielded from the air. Yay, it's in plastic. Shielded from light and air for 3 years. And that's what it looks like. Not really too exciting. And this is the piece that was baked at 350 for 60 minutes. And neither one of these has had any finish put on them. Let's see if the two sides are different. Hard to tell. That's probably the closest right there. So not a huge difference. This one definitely has a little bit more purple, and this one has turned a little bit more of a reddish color. So comparing the control piece to just a baked piece of Purpleheart, I think I still like that color a little bit better. I mean, it's a living, or was a living thing. So just like if you were to seal a leaf or a flower in epoxy, it's going to turn brown eventually. So I think that's just what's going on. This color is not meant to last forever. But another time I do hope to do a little more detailed test to see how to preserve the color the best way. So enough about that. Here are this is the control piece from 3 years ago, and this is one of the baked pieces from 3 years ago. And now we're going to start scraping this thing down to see what it looks like on the inside. I think I'm just going to go straight to the planer and get this done. This is the side that was facing up in the photograph, so everything is aligned the same way. Just for a refresher, here is that video clip. The first row is not treated at all. This is the back side of those pieces, so they look a little bit darker, but this is the first row where it was baked at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 30, 60, 90, and 120 minutes. This was baked at 300 degrees Fahrenheit and 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is the other block that was baked at 350 for 60 minutes, so that'll line up with this piece right here. I'll be curious to see how closely the color will return to that. And I did a little bit of flattening on the back side just so it wouldn't rock while it was going through, a little bit of planing on the corners, and I just used some masking tape to flatten the rest. And I'm going to send through a sacrificial board first and last to cut down on the snipe, so you see this come out first. And then it's on this white piece of PVC so I can line up the pictures after, and we'll see the same lighting and same camera angle for all of the photographs. So let's do it. And there you have it. That is 4 years of use and abuse removed with one pass through the planer. And I checked the date on the video. It was actually more like 4 years ago that I said I was going to follow up in 2 years. Here we are anyway. All right, this is the back side of the ones that were not heat treated. This is the 250 range, and you can see it's a little bit darker over there. These ones all look pretty much the same. They were unchanged. This is the 300 degree row, and you see more of a change over here. I like the color on that one. That looks pretty. Both of these are pretty good. So anything in this range I think looks all right. And then this is the 350 degree row. This one looks surprisingly lighter. Maybe it just didn't have enough time to warm up. I kind of like this over here a little bit more. Now that's 350 degrees for 60 minutes right here. And this got back to pretty close to the same color. That was the darker backside. Yeah, these got back pretty close to the same color. So I think anything in the 300 range seems to be pretty good. And in the 350 range for a shorter period of time seems to be a winning combination. But I'm really happy with how this looks after a pass through the planer. I mean, it looks just about as good as new compared to that mess. I mean, that really looked terrible. So proper sealing probably would have made it look a lot better. So maybe this time I'll actually get on a good coat of water locks. It's kind of hard because, you know, the wood has been baked and the pores are pretty tight, and Purpleheart is not all that porous anyway. But maybe if I heat it up first and then put on the finish as it's cooling, warm up the finish too, because it's 55 degrees in my workshop right now. If I heat up the wood and the finish and then put the finish on as it cools, maybe it'll soak in a little bit more of that. And in 2 years from now, I will not do a follow-up unless I really feel like it, so don't ask for it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I have no idea if this thing is still going to exist in 2 years. So I don't know if I answered all your questions, but I probably at least answered the question of what does this thing look like now? And it was that. And after one pass through the planer, that's what we got. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully it was enlightening, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.